Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as a man named Tamaki is being stabbed repeatedly. The girl stabbing him sounds like a psychopath as she calls out his name. Her knife begins to glow and Tamaki loses his life. Soon after, Tamaki is shocked to see that he is somehow still alive as he wakes up to find some kind of green monster talking to him. It gives him the name Gabaru and it force feeds him some giant disgusting bug. Gabaru is still too tired to do anything, so he falls back asleep. When he wakes up the next day, Gabaru is surrounded by what he calls a bunch of ugly green babies. He then realizes that he is one of them. This leads him to conclude that he had died, and he was then reborn as a helpless little goblin. 3 days later, Gabaru determines that goblins mature much faster than humans, as he has grown a lot. Gabaru becomes excited when he sees that he has a voice again, and he is very agile. He decides not to overthink things, and he just becomes grateful to have a second chance at life. Gabaru vows to survive the best he can with his new life, and he makes it to day 4. The man that's been feeding them informs all the newborn goblins that they will have to get their own food after this last meal. They all feast on the bugs, and Ro is the first of them to venture outside. Just like before, this world has one sun and a blue sky, but it has some pretty ugly birds. A ton of plants he has never seen before make it clear that Gabaru is in a new world. The goblins are able to speak, so Gabaru teams up with Gobkichi. Gobkichi is the biggest of the goblin kids, and Gabaru teamed up with him, specifically because he will be most useful when helping him hunt. The two of them work together as Gobkichi chases a unicorn bunny, and Gabaru finishes it off. Gobkichi tries to eat without Gabaru, so Gabaru beats him and makes sure that he knows that they're supposed to share. After demonstrating the nature of their relationship to Gobkichi, Gabaru tries to see if he can use the rabbit's horn as a weapon. Just then, he gets a strange vision that says Gabaru obtained the small creature's horn. Gabaru has no clue what that was, but he moves on as Gobkichi is starving. Gobkichi is overwhelmed with emotion as he eats. He cries and thanks Gabaru for helping him get food. Gabaru would just like for him to eat or cry, but not both. On the 5th day, the two hunt a rabbit again, but this time Gabaru uses the horn as a weapon and determines that it's very useful. Gabaru removes another horn and he once again sees the vision. He ignores it so they can eat, but he then has another vision. This time Gabaru hears a voice and it tells him that he learned the ability called escape. Seeing it another time has confirmed something he suspected. Gabaru then explains to us that in his old world, he was born with the extremely rare ESP ability called absorption. This allowed him to eat pretty much anything, and he would have a chance of gaining the traits of whatever he ate. Luckily, it looks like he still has this ability, but sadly it seems like any other abilities he had in his past life have been reset. As Gabaru amazes Gobkichi by hunting a rabbit, Gabaru thinks about how he's actually extremely lucky that out of all his abilities, absorption was the one he kept. This is because in this world, there are a ton of monsters lurking around with incredible powers. On day 6, some girl goblin named Gobmi is amazed to hear that our boys have been eating horned rabbits. Gabaru didn't think it was a big deal, but Gobmi points out that someone just lost her life after being gored by one of those rabbits. She knows that Gabaru is the one in charge, and she admires him for being smart, cool, and strong. Gobkichi wonders what she thinks about him, but she just thinks he is ordinary. Gabaru offers to let her come on their next hunt, and she agrees. The next day though, it ends up raining, so they postpone the hunt for the day after. Gabaru decides to check the group storage to see if he can make a new weapon. He returns with materials to make a weapon, but he cannot forget what else he saw. In the storage, Gabaru found a group of captive human women. The reason why is pretty obvious, but Gabaru would rather not think about it. The elder that watches them is named Gobji, and he is the man responsible for giving Gabaru his very low effort name. The man is impressed with Gabaru and explains that he might level up faster than the others. Gabaru doesn't understand what he means by levels, so the old geezer tells him to tap his head. Gabaru does, and the voice reveals that Gabaru is currently level 86. Gobji explains that once he reaches level 100, Gabaru will be able to evolve into a more advanced life form. Gobji doubts that he will be able to though, since it's pretty rare. It turns out that goblins age very quickly, so this old geezer is just 20 years old. Gobji explains that the others will be returning soon, so Gabaru will get to see what an evolved hobgoblin looks like. The old goblin lets out a maniacal laugh as he wonders what kind of prey they will be bringing back this time. On day 8, the guys go hunting, and Gobmi joins them. Gabmi is in charge of backup, while Gabiru fights at middle range, and Gabkichi is their forward. Their 3-goblin formation works like a charm, and they're able to hunt larger monsters. The food is delicious, so Gabmi tears up, as she has only been eating nothing but fruit. When Gabiru eats, he gains several traits from the snake, including venom resistance and something called Evil Eye. This is way more than he got from the other animals, so it's clear that this snake was on a whole other level. The others have no clue what he is talking about, and Gabkichi wants to eat the head of the snake too. Unfortunately, he can't since it's poisonous, and the others would die if they ate it. Gabiru is getting used to things now, so he explains that it doesn't matter how ugly he is. He is determined to survive in this world in his second life. Days 9 and 10 were more of the same hunting, but on day 11 they made the mistake of trying to go into a cave. Their teamwork shines once again though, as Gabiru has Gabkichi protect them with the shield, so he can use Evil Eye on the attacking bats. This stuns them so they can win the fight. They feast on the bats, and this gives Gabiru echolocation, along with a couple other bat traits. They feast as always, but we see that some other goblins starve as they watch them. That night, some of the other goblins surround Gabiru as he sleeps, but the clever goblin always has his search ability active. This allows him to sense that the others are trying to attack him, so Gabiru beats up all 6 of them. One of them is hurt more than the others, so Gabiru realizes that he might not have adjusted his venom correctly since he was in a rush. He plans to teach the rest of them a lesson, but Gabmi is even more upset. She starts choking one of them out, so Gabiru tries to calm her down. On day 13, our group takes on a much bigger monster. Gabkichi gets knocked back, so the clever Gabmi disarms the orc. Gabiru breaks its leg and tells the others that he will take it from there, so they watch as Gabiru slaughters it. Feasting on the orc grants Gabiru the ability to use orc language, libido, and something called Detect Analyze. Gabiru is still thinking about when the others attacked him, so after his friends have had their fill of food, Gabiru decides to bring the rest back so everyone else can eat too. The others are skeptical at first, but Gabiru assures them that it's okay. They all thank Gabiru and begin eating good food for the first time. Gabiru stands over them as they eat, and he thinks about how he never would have even considered helping out the helpless in his old world. It's obvious that his appearance changed since coming to this new world, but Gabiru wonders if something else has changed about him as well. As Gabiru sleeps, he has another vision. It mentions something about how his level values have been exceeded, and he has met all the special conditions. We see that it says something about evolving, but Gabiru is too tired to read any of it, so he just swipes yes and goes back to sleep. One last message reads that Gabiru has received the blessing of the Grand God of Demise and Origin. The next morning, Gabiru finds that he looks a lot more like he did in his old life. A look over at Gabkichi reveals that he has evolved as well. Gabmi is in awe of her friends, as she points out that they're a lot bigger and a lot cooler now. Gabji is stunned that they both ranked up already, since it hasn't even been a month since they were born. Gabkichi wants to test out his new strength, so Gabiru assumes that he wants to go hunting. Surprisingly though, Gabkichi wants to test it by fighting Gabiru, and Gabiru actually really likes the idea. The 2 beefed up hobgoblins fight outside, and show that they are much better fighters now. Gabkichi is a bit too slow though, so Gabiru ends up winning the fight easily. Gabkichi is amazed by how strong Gabiru is, but Gabiru explains that Gabkichi hasn't beat when it comes to pure power. Just then, Gabiru senses that trouble is approaching, and he surprises Gabmi when he knows that she is hiding nearby. He reminds her about the crossbow they made the day before, and he instructs her to go get it. We then see what the danger is as a pack of wolves viciously hunt down some rabbits. An orc runs off as it's terrified of them, but it's no use as the wolves easily destroy it as well. Gabiru determines that they are the perfect target to test their evolved strength, so he has Gabmi start off by shooting one of them with an arrow. Gabiru and Gabkichi then jump in to start smacking the wolves around. Gabiru reveals that he used his venom on Gabmi's arrows, and it has allowed them to easily impair the leader of the wolves. Without their leader, the wolves were uncoordinated. Their teamwork was lacking, so Gabiru and his group were able to make quick work of them. One last wolf remains, but it eventually dies as well. Gabiru determines that it's the leader, so he eats it and it gives him some military leadership abilities. Gabiru gives more food to the others, but informs them that they will have to start catching the same amount of prey that they are provided. They fear that they won't be able to do it, so they beg Gabiru to teach them how to hunt. Gabiru agrees to show them, and they're all even more grateful when he says that he will teach them how to make weapons as well. Gabiru says that it's not a big deal as they are all comrades, and they all begin to cheer his name. Gabiru isn't sure why, but in this moment he feels like he can see the path that he will be taking in this new world. He will eat non-stop to become stronger. He will then lead his comrades to achieve his real goal that puts a smile on his face. 4 days later, Gabiru laments how his comrades still have a lot to learn. They train hard, and Gabiru is shocked when he accidentally walks in on Gabmi. On day 17, all the human women that were captive took their own life, and Gabiru had a quiet memorial for them with Gabji. We then move on to day 24, and Gabiru is training the other goblins. In the meantime, he had also been eating every promising enemy he could find, and learned a lot of new abilities. Just then, another group of goblins begins approaching. Gabiru prepares to protect everyone against them, but Gabji stops him and explains that they are their raiders. Gabiru is then shocked to hear that they are also the fathers of Gabiru's generation of goblins. The raiders have captured another group of human women, and the evil goblins are glad since their last batch took their own lives. It turns out that goblin DNA is so strong that when they mate with other species, it still results in goblin children. Gabiru can understand the instinct to reproduce, but that doesn't mean he's okay with what's going on. He requests that he be the one to look after the human women, but this just upsets the raiders. Gabiru's generation of goblins is ready to stand up for him, but this just begins to divide the two groups. Just then, 2 goblin girls arrive to casually tell the two sides to stop getting themselves into a civil war. They are Hubsato and the mage Habse. These genius girls come up with the brilliant idea to have the leaders of both generations fight, and the winner decides what the village will do from now on. The raider wants to teach Gabiru a lesson, and Gabiru agrees to fight as well. The fight ends very quickly as Gabiru uses some kind of mysterious string. The others can't understand how he did it, so Gabiru explains that it just comes out of his body. He then thinks about how it's an ability he learned that allows him to produce spider silk, and he learned it after eating a demon spider. The girls are amazed that someone like him was born while they were gone, and Gabiru announces his new official status as leader of the village. He asks if anyone has a problem with that, but no one decides to stand up against him. Gabiru then tells the humans that he ordered everyone to keep their hands off of them. He won't do anything either, and they will find the time to send them back to a human village. The girls wonder if they will have to do anything, and we learn that Gabiru wasn't being completely selfless with his actions. He wants the knowledge of the humans. Gabiru asks them some questions, and learns that these girls were part of a traveling business when the goblins attacked them. All the men were slaughtered, and these 5 girls were the only survivors. On day 28, Gabiru is surprised to see that the girls seem happy. He realizes that they haven't gotten over everything, they're just having a positive attitude since it will make things easier. Gabiru cooked for them, hoping that it would help. Among the girls are 2 sisters that are cooks as well as tailors. The one with glasses is an alchemist, and the absent-minded girl is an appraiser and a smith. As for the redhead, she is a rookie warrior, so he decides to have her join their training later. Gabiru then trained everyone hard and insulted them when they got tired. For the next few days, he focused on group exercises instead of hunting, and he beat into them the new rules he set for the group. Day 31 was rainy, so Gabiru and Gabkichi did some really intense sparring as everyone watched in amazement. That night, Gabiru sensed that a group of goblins were about to break his rule regarding the human women. Gabiru sliced right through one of the goblins and restrained the others. He reminds them of the rules he set and punishes one of them for talking back to him. Gabiru apologizes to the women, and the redhead cries in his arms. The other goblins arrive, so Gabiru instructs Gabkichi to take the restrained goblins outside. He also has Gabmi gather the other goblins so they can watch what he's about to do. Outside, Gabiru sends a message to the others by using these guys as an example. He beats them relentlessly and makes sure that everyone really understands their village rules. Everyone gets the message loud and clear, so Gabiru dismisses them. Gabiru stopped just short of ending their lives, which meant that Hobkin, who got the worst of the punishment, passed away the next morning. On day 32, Gabiru's team uses their amazing teamwork once again to take down a Trihorn horse. It was pretty tough, but this just meant that he also received a ton of new abilities. Tri-Burst is one of them, and it amazingly allows him to deal 3 blows with just 1 strike. That night, the redhead goes to sleep in Gabiru's bed, and he realizes that the incident from the night before must have traumatized her. Gabiru comforts her and allows her to spend the night with him. However, when he wakes up, Gabiru finds that Gobmi joined them as well. That day, they also find that the female goblin named Gabi evolved into a hobgoblin as well. Overall, things have been going pretty smoothly. Gobmi runs the ranged unit, and Gobchi is in charge of their armed forces. Hobsato handles the mobility-oriented force, and Gabi has taken over rear support, which focuses on doing chores. Hobse would act as the captain of their mage force, but right now she is the only mage in their village. For the rest of this day, Gabiru leaves the training to the captains, so he could head deep into the forest to hunt a variety of prey. Gabiru tries out some demise magic, and is shocked to see just how powerful it is, as he easily destroys one of the powerful Trihorns with one attack. Gabiru only realized after this that the magic made him overconfident as he went into the northern forest. There he finds a strange area with a ton of blood, and he remembers something that Gobchi told all the goblins. Gobchi warned them to never go into the northern forest for any reason. Inside there is a terrifying crimson monster called the Red Bear. This is where Gabiru finds himself now, and he sees that this monster easily tore through a Trihorn. The Trihorn's armor was incredibly difficult for them to pierce earlier, but it was nothing for this bear. Just then, the Red Bear appears, and Gabiru acknowledges that a normal person would probably try to run away. Gabiru is not a normal person though. He wants to fight it, beat it, and eat it to see what kind of abilities he will get. Gabiru plans to use every weapon in his arsenal, so he starts off by using Phase 1 Demise Magic. Back at the village, Gabi becomes concerned as she hasn't seen Gabiru in a while. The others haven't seen him either, so this just makes her more worried. Back with Gabiru, he is shocked when the Red Bear sacrifices his right arm to defend against his Demise spell. The bear unleashes a flurry of attacks, and Gabiru can tell that the refined skill armor he received from the Trihorn won't be able to protect him. Gabiru must go on the offensive, so he goes to attack the bear's head. He is once again shocked though when his weapon isn't able to pierce its skull, and the bear sends him flying. Gabiru covers the bear in string, but it breaks free and shockingly uses a crazy strong fire breath attack. The forest is covered in fire, and Gabiru must heal his wounds. The attack was very concerning, since Gabiru had never seen or even heard of a fire-breathing bear in his past life. This is a very dangerous opponent, so Gabiru realizes that he will just have to be willing to take some damage to win. Gabiru moves in for another attack and protects himself from the fire breath. The beast is pretty tough on the outside, but Gabiru cleverly uses the fire breath attack against the bear, and he pierces it right through its mouth. Gabiru is pleased with himself, but he is shocked to find that it wasn't enough. The ferocious bear knocks him back, and Gabiru does his best to limit the damage he takes. Gabiru still took a lot of damage from the incredibly powerful attack, so he concedes that this round was a draw. His blade is still inside the bear's mouth, so at least it won't be able to use its fire breath anymore. This crazy strong bear still shows no sign of collapsing, but Gabiru is just one attack away from losing his life. Gabiru is at a huge disadvantage, but this guy is crazy as he proclaims that it will just make his meal taste even better. Gabiru goes in for more fighting and manages to deal some damage. It's not enough, so he tells the bear that he wants to eat him already, and he moves in for another attack, but we see that he loses an arm. On day 34, Gabiru has finally won the crazy battle, but he barely survived. Gabiru finally gets to eat the bear, and he receives a ton of powerful traits. Among them are heavy damage and overpowering strength. Gabiru passes out soon after, but we once again see that he has exceeded his level values and met all conditions. This now allows him to evolve into a rare ogre species. His conscience is fading away, so Gabiru simply selects yes without reading. On day 35, Gabiru continues to eat the bear and gains even more incredibly powerful traits. He reaches for his knife, which seems much smaller than before, and Gabiru is shocked to realize that he has become an ogre. Gabiru returns to the village, but everyone is terrified of him, and they fear that they are under attack. They prepare to run as they wonder why the ogre is smiling at them, and they wish that Gabiru was there to save them. Luckily, Gobmi recognizes him, but instead of being surprised by his evolution, she is mad at him for being gone for so long. She just ends up hurting herself, but she still scolds Gabiru. She is upset that he lost his arm, but the others are all amazed that he took down the Red Bear. Gobji is most shocked of all, as he points out that Gabiru was able to defeat the Master of the Northern Woods just 1 month after he was born. Everyone had questions for him, but Gabiru was just glad that he survived and was able to make it to his new home in his new world. Thanks for watching my recap. Sign up to my free newsletter if you want to show some support to the channel. Link is in the description.